What's going on, everybody? Welcome in Wager Alarm live stream. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me here, of course, Craig Mish. Time to get down and dirty here. We've watched the lines throughout the week. Craig, we talked about some of the big conference title games that are coming up starting tomorrow. There's going to be some great action here. Let's talk about Did you want to mention anything last minute? Have you changed your mind? Are you putting money down?
Not really, but the first thing I want to mention, because it just happened, and so normally we do college football, then we do pro, but here on Wager Alarm, obviously we partner with Fantasy Alarm. It's the same company, it's the same group, and so a lot of people out there are probably watching, and you may be a fantasy fan, you may be a wagering fan, whatever it is, and people may ask the question about when a big player potentially is out of a football game and what they're worth in terms of point spreads. And I really wanted to touch on that when we got to the NFL portion. But since we are here and it just happened, and obviously I'm sure that people have seen it already, but Kareem Hunt not only was placed on the administrative leave by the Kansas City Chiefs, they made an announcement about 5 minutes ago that they've cut him completely. So Kareem Hunt is no longer with the Chiefs. And when it comes to wagering, and it comes to making, your wagers, however you do it, whether it's with somebody locally or you're in one of the legal states to do it, like Las Vegas or New Jersey or even Mississippi, or if you're doing it online one way or another, it's important to know to not overreact to these kind of things. Because Kareem Hunt, while he is one of the best running backs in the NFL, in general, in terms of wagering, there are very few players outside of the quarterback that are going to make a difference in terms of sports betting. So you may ask yourself, what is a guy like should I run online, Howard, and now, bet the Raiders because they're getting plus 14? No, the answer is really no. Spencer Ware is a very capable backup. Kareem Hunt, while he does help the Chiefs win games, is not going to be worth a point or a point and a half a point. I mean, I suppose it's possible, but not really. It's a quarterback-driven league, and when the quarterback is in or he's out, that makes a difference. The only running back in the NFL right now that would make a difference in terms of the spread is Todd Gurley. If Gurley was out, that could affect the spread by a half a point or a point, just because his backups are so unknown, and Malcolm Brown and then Kelly, I believe, is the name of the other guy that they have that hasn't played this year. So if he was out, there would be a lot of uncertainty because they've relied on him so much. You saw that early on in the season with the Steelers, Howard, when Le'Veon Bell was out because they didn't really know what James Conner was going to be. But then as the season goes on, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. So in wagering, when it comes to quarterback injuries, yes, if you want to take advantage of something like that, you feel like you can jump on a line before Vegas catches it or one of your online providers or your local providers, yes, that's smart. But when it comes to a running back, don't overreact. It's very possible, Howard, that inside that locker room on Sunday, those guys are rallying around the fact that we don't have this guy, and let's make an effort to show everybody that we don't need him. Look, those kind of things happen, and those narratives can be pushed. The running back in the NFL doesn't make that much of a difference in wagering. It just doesn't.
No, and listen, you know what? For in a lot of cases, it doesn't really mean that much in fantasy. It depends on who the backup is, like you said. Because listen, if there's something that we learned from the Steelers, and something that I've actually preached over at Fantasy Alarm for years and years right now, is that you talk about the system that the players are playing in, not just the players. And when you see Le'Veon Bell out and James Conner fills in without missing a beat, just like D'Angelo Williams did, then you have to assume, you have to look at it and say, it's got to be the system here also. Sure. It's not the player. And we've seen this with Andy Reid running backs in his system throughout his entire career, whether it was back with Philly or early with Kansas City. He's been through this rotation of running backs from, guys like Jamal Charles and, Priest Holmes and Kareem Hunt. Spencer Ware was actually killing it as the running back for the Chiefs before Kareem Hunt came along.
Yeah, Jamal Charles got soft, and then they went to Spencer Ware. And not only that, but I think both of them were out, if I'm not mistaken, 1 week in the past. And then I think Niall Davis may have played at one point. Sounds familiar.
Back then when it was those guys. And listen, we've seen it with Denver. You remember Denver was turning out 1,000-yard rushers over and over again, from Reuben Drones to Orlandis Gary. And it was because of the zone blocking and the offensive line and the system there. And so, when we're looking at here, Spencer Ware taking over for Kareem Hunt, it's not a big deal for me, man. It's really not a big deal at all.
In both fantasy and reality. In fantasy, is he going to put up Hunt's numbers? Probably not. In reality, when it comes to betting against the spread, he's not worth a point. A half a point really would be at the most. I would say probably like a quarter of a point would be more realistic. But again, this is the kind of thing that guys could rally against. It's very different than, again, college football when you have your best player on the field out of 11, Howard. If that's the guy that's out, that makes a big difference in a college football game because the talent is so watered down. But in the NFL, the guys are great on both teams. It's overstated a little bit, and I don't want people to make the mistake of if you're a novice wager or if you're an expert and you're out there and you're like, oh, Kareem Hunt, oh, he's out, let me go grab the Raiders. No. It's not the way to go about doing it. It's a quarterback-driven league, and when the starting quarterback, and he's above average, is out and he goes down and the backup is in, I mean, that potentially could be 3, 4, or even up to 7-point difference. If Tom Brady, for example, Howard, missed a game, that's like a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers is like a touchdown. And we even saw earlier this year when, remember that whole Bears-Dolphins thing when Tannehill was out and Osweiler was in? That was a touchdown too. That swung 7 points also. So
did that swing 7? I think it fell. I feel like it swung like
that was our game that we had. Remember that?
I'm trying. Maybe I'm blocking it out or something. Because
anyway, the quarterback makes a difference. Moral of the story: running backs really do not. In terms of college, this week is a huge week. It's our final week of the kind of regular season. It's championship week, and we only have about a dozen games to go through. So I picked 2 games that I'm going to do here on this show, 2 picks as opposed to 3. When I have a full board, I'll do 2. When we do the college bowl games, Howard and I are going to do all 40. So we're going to have our opinions. Howard and I will go head-to-head. We'll pick who we think is going to win, and at the end we'll keep our record and see how we did. Is it something that I would advocate wagering on 40 games? No. But a lot of people do college football bowl pool contests. I have through the years, too. I've done it religiously over the last probably 10 years where they set the spreads, and then you can go right up until the first game and then pick, you go back and forth. You pick all the games like you would in the NFL each week. That's really where you can take advantage by knowing a lot of things. During the week, for you guys don't see behind the scenes, what I'm doing in college is every time a coach leaves, I'm emailing Howard, hey, this guy left. Hey, here's something to pay attention to. Hey, Utah State's coach, he's gone. And that's the kind of thing that's going to affect these games. There is no doubt. I've seen it play out before. And Utah State's one of those interesting teams because they had one of the best seasons. They had their best season ever in college football. Their offense has been fantastic, and that coach left to go to Texas Tech.
And that was, the funny thing is that you feed me those little emails and you shoot them over. I've got a whole spread. I wish I can't show it to you. I can't turn the monitor around and show you, but I've got a full spreadsheet here of all the notes that you're doing there with other things like Utah State, best in the country against the spread, like all these things. And I'm telling you, Craig, if we're going head to head on all 40 bowl games, baby,
maybe I should stop sending.
I don't know if you want to keep sending me these little tidbits of info.
Maybe I'll stop sending it. But either way, also it's important to know if the coach is actually going to be coaching in that game. Some of those things haven't been determined yet. On Sunday, you're going to get the Final Four. Sunday night, they're going to tell everybody who's in the Final Four in terms of the playoff based on the results this week. And then all of the bowl games will be announced on Monday. And then almost immediately after that on Tuesday, we're going to get all the spreads. So we'll be able to knock them all out. I can't wait for that. Alabama, Georgia this week. It's pretty much where it was. There's so few games and the teams are good. The spreads don't change that much. That's the case this week. Alabama, the number 1 seed, minus 13 over Georgia. Georgia needs a win to stay alive. Ohio State needs a win this week against Northwestern. They opened up as 14-13. It's 14.5 right now. There's not a lot of confidence in Northwestern. And then, Notre Dame is off. So we're going to have to see if Oklahoma ends up beating Texas. That's a big game for them. Oklahoma is minus 8. Texas has been given some gifts, I think, this season, but they are 9-3. And Oklahoma is 11-1. And then, of course, the game that a lot of people from a sentimental point of view are going to be watching is Central Florida against Memphis. If Central Florida had their quarterback, Mackenzie Milton, they'd be 7-point favorites against Memphis. They don't have him. They have the backup who's played well, but UCF is now down to only minus 3. So those are some of the games that we'll be looking at, and then there are some throwaway games because of the hurricane that knocked them out. They're going to play those games this week.
All right. Well, before we get to who we're picking for this week, I think we're doing 2 picks in college today, and then we've got our super contest. But do me a favor here, Craig. Our new sponsor here for the Wager Alarm live stream, our friends over at BetDSI. I figure it's probably better if you talk to me a little bit about the site. Talk to everybody out there about BetDSI really, rather than just kind of doing a generic read?
Sure. Well, BetDSI.com is a place that you can go to wager on sports if that's what you like to do. They also have a really good interface in terms of looking at the point spreads as it pertains to live wagers, but they also do all sports, including proposition wagers. So if you are interested in, for example, the team to win the college basketball national championship, you can bet on that. All of the bowl games will be there. They have different contests out there as well. They had a survivor pool contest just like we do in the NFL. They had it as well. It's called Sharp Survivor, and they're giving away a bonus for everybody who signs up. We're going to give you that information in just a minute, where they'll match your deposit bonus. I believe it's up to $2,500, 100% of the deposit. So think about that. If you put in $500 to BetDSI, they're immediately going to match your deposit, $500. So then you have $1,000 in there without even doing anything. But you have to use our promo code to do that. So we'll tell you about that in a minute. Also, they pay out very quickly. I can tell you that they've been a sponsor of mine over on my podcast, Swings and Mishes, which I do for Major League Baseball and the Miami Marlins. And next week at the winter meetings, I will be there, and they are my primary sponsor for that trip also to the winter meeting. So BetDSI.com is the place to go if you do wager, if you choose. And Howard, how can people get signed up by using our promo code?
Well, here what you got to do, actually, if you're going to use our promo code, what you have to do is go to fantasyalarm.com/bet. Very simple like that. And then plug in the promo code ALARM100, and you'll be all set. So, again, you got to go through this link, though, fantasyalarm.com/bet. Then plug in that promo code ALARM100. And like Craig said, they're going to do a 100% match of whatever you deposit when you're ready to go. So
yeah, think about that. You throw in $100 and you use the promo code, you go through the link, they're going to give you an extra 100. So there's no loss there. I mean, it's a great way to do it, but you have to use our promo code in order to do it. If you just sign up organically, which is fine also, because I would recommend that. But if you are going to sign up, I would use the link fantasyalarm.com/bet and use our promo code, which is
ALARM100.
Alarm 100. Mine is 101 on my other one. So
why don't you just throw out 72 different numbers here now, Craig? 3, 9, 7, 4. Fantasyalarm.com/bet. Alarm 100.
There you go. Alarm 100. Type it in right now. Type it in. And bet Central Florida this weekend.
Oh, Central Florida against Memphis? Really? Why?
We're going to go with UCF. That's our first pick this week.
Really?
Go with UCF. Look, UCF hasn't lost a game in 2 years. You talk about a rallying cry. When you lose your starting quarterback and he breaks his leg on the field, I can't see any possible scenario that Memphis comes away with a win here. It's probably going to be a closer game than some people think. A lot of money is coming in on Memphis. They were Central Florida. Well, UCF was -4.5. It's now down to 3. But Howard, that total is 64.5. It was 70. It went down a lot. But let me explain something to you. If UCF is going to have trouble with their backup quarterback, who has played well when he's played, then this total should be 45 or 50 or 50. It's 65. UCF's going to score a lot of points in this game, and they're going to win. Will they get into the playoff? Will they get into the championship? A lot of things have to happen. Number one, Texas has to beat Oklahoma early in the day. That's got to happen. They got to knock Oklahoma out and get them behind. Number two, Alabama has to beat Georgia. That has to happen too. You got to get rid of Georgia from the Final Four. And then the third thing that has to happen is Northwestern, as a 14.5-point underdog, has to beat Ohio State. I don't see these things happening, Howard. I don't see all three of those along with UCF winning, but stranger things have happened in college football. Personally, I think it'd be really cool to see UCF get in. What would the line be against Alabama, Howard? Number 1 versus number 4, Alabama would be 25-point favorites. It's just a fact. But either way, UCF, go Knights this weekend. We're going to lay the points, -3.
I like it. You're not going to get an argument out of me on this one here. What do you? All right. Well, that's one spread then that we're doing there, and we're taking we're laying the points.
Yeah.
Because we're really not laying a whole lot of points here in this one at all. I know, right? 3 points in college, that's nothing. Talk to me. Let's do it over under here. What do we got?
Okay, so Oklahoma has basically gone over every single game this season. I mean, more or less. They're averaging, whoever they play, of of like 90 to 100 points per game, 50 to 40, 40 to 30. This line is 77.5. I don't think it's high enough. Texas is the thing that worries me a little bit. Can Texas go toe-to-toe with Oklahoma? The Sooners have really not played a lot of defense, but I think that their offense is good enough to put a 40 spot up on Texas. The question is this going to be like a 41-40, 43-42 type game? Remember a few weeks ago when Oklahoma played against West Virginia, Oklahoma had to go for 2 at the end of the game in order to win. I really think that this is a 90 to 100 point game, and I just think you can't make the line high enough in this one. If it was like 84, 85, I may shy away from it, but 77's in the bag. So we're going to go over 77 Texas, Oklahoma for the second one.
Oh, okay. Is there a third? Because I know we were talking earlier today. We were talking earlier today about that Ohio State Northwestern game.
Did I have that in there?
Yeah, the over-under 61 on that one.
I'll go under in that one. Under 61.5.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Ohio State. Yeah, let me go with the third pick. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so under 61.5, Northwestern Ohio State is my third pick. Ohio State's offense is, certainly they put up 50 on Michigan last week, and that's the reason why this is 61. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction. Northwestern, to me, their offense isn't great. They've played a lot of low-scoring games. I've watched them play in their conference all season long. So I'll go under 61.5 for that one. Let's see if I can find a fourth pick.
Now you're just getting greedy, dude.
No, I think I'm done. Akron, South Carolina. Ooh. Stanford, Cal. You could go to Stanford, Cal. It's not too far from you, right? Berkeley?
No. How
far is that from where you are? An hour? Not even?
Not even. Just straight shot over the bridge, my friend. However,
they're playing that game because of the fires. So they moved that game to. It's a meaningless game more or less. I guess it's an important game for bowl positioning because both teams are 7-4.
It's a big rivalry between the two of them. It's definitely something they got to do. I have no interest in going though. Why? Because I'd rather be at home watching other games and writing breakdowns of other football games like the NFL, and I want to get to that. All right, so here we go. So then we're going under Northwestern Ohio State. That's 61. Texas, Oklahoma, we're taking the over at 77, and then we're taking Central Florida -3 over Memphis.
That's
right?
It. You got it.
All right. Sounds like 3 winners to me. Now let's get 5 in the NFL.
Yeah,
Super contest. See, it's that kind of an attitude, Craig, that I have a real issue with here.
I feel much better about the picks this week. I do. I think we're going to have a good week. I do. I feel it.
Can you convince me there, Craig? Convince me.
Okay, so our first pick is a pick that we talked about earlier in the week. I think that we would both agree. What are you saying yes to? I'm not sure if we're talking about
our first pick, dude. I know what's our first pick then?
Browns?
I thought it was the. Oh, really? It's the Browns are our first pick?
Oh, well, the Steelers are the first pick that we're taking, but it's the last game on the board. But anyway, we can start with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's -3.5 against the Chargers. Let's be honest, they could have easily won the game last week against Denver. They came back to beat Jacksonville the week before. This line is just weird, man. Like, I know the Chargers are good, but I think the Steelers are like potentially Super Bowl good. And we know the Chargers fall over themselves at the end of the season every year. So we're not going to take all favorites, but this is one favorite that we're going to take. They're basically saying that there is no advantage for Pittsburgh being at home, being on Sunday Night Football, with the Chargers having to travel across the country to play them. I don't get it. We got to take Pittsburgh in this one.
Have to take Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been great to us all season long.
They have.
We've taken them a bunch of times, and they've hit every time.
Won every time. And not only that, but we didn't take them in the weeks they didn't cover last week and the week before. We stayed away.
There you go. See? Boom. All right. So, yes, Pittsburgh -3.5 against the Chargers. I love it. All right, go with the other one here. You want to start talking? You want to talk Cleveland? Let's do it. Come on.
Second one is the Browns. They're obviously playing very well. They're up to 4 wins and 6 losses. They've been much better against the spread. They had a run there where they weren't covering. Houston is leading that magic life, man. Like, look, they look great on Monday night against Tennessee. I will give them that. But of their 8 wins, I could probably point to 4 of them that they had no business winning, that they were gifted. So this line to me should be 3.5 or 4. But I believe, Howard, in the Super Contest, we're getting 6. Is that right?
No, we're getting 5.5.
5.5. It's just too many points. Houston, they still don't impress me. Listen, if Lamar Miller drops off a 97-yard run again against the Browns, we're probably going to lose that game. Those things are so rare in the NFL that I'm not a big believer in Houston. I think that they're going to win their 10 games or 11 games. I think they're going to get smacked in the playoffs. I've just seen them play week after week, and outside of last week, this past week, Monday, they look great. But outside of that, I don't think that they have. I think Cleveland's on a roll, and I think that this is a good spot for a dog. Take the points.
I think this is a great spot for a dog, and I'm definitely, the 5.5 points makes me extremely happy. See, here's the thing, and I think that a lot of people, we talk about like recency bias all the time here. I think people are just still stuck on the Browns being the Browns. Now, one of the things that I think that they're really kind of banking on, and the reason that this line is the way it is because in the last 3 games, Cleveland's pass defense it hasn't been strong. I mean, they faced some formidable opponents, but they're giving up about 305 passing yards per game over the last 3 weeks. All right. Their rushing defense, though, has tightened up, and that's actually a reversal of what's gone on. So I think people are just thinking it's Deshaun Watson. He's going to throw on them all day. It's DeAndre Hopkins. It's Demaryius Thomas, who just came off a 2-touchdown game there. And I think that what they're underestimating here is the likelihood that Denzel Ward, who has really blossomed into one of the top cover corners in the NFL right now, is going to probably see a lot of DeAndre Hopkins. And that kind of takes things out. Kiki Kute, who knows with him? Demaryius Thomas is still trying to work out the kinks with Deshaun Watson. So I think that that's really, and I guess they're assuming that the pass rush is just going to get to Baker Mayfield too much. I don't know, man. I thought that there was a little bit of a weird line as well, which was why I jumped at the chance of taking the 5.5 here.
Yeah, and Cleveland hasn't been bad this year against the spread, unlike last year. So I'm in agreement with you on that one. So that's pick number 2. Yep. How about pick number 3?
Pick number 3. Oh, I love pick number 3 too. Hello, Buffalo. Good to see ya. We would never in a million.
Listen, this is our first Buffalo pick all year, right?
This is our first Buffalo pick all year. Okay, we're getting 4.5. It's Miami. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but how do you beat Miami? You run the ball right up the gut. Ask any team that's played against them. You run the ball right up the middle. Miami can't stop the run. And then, boom, that opens up everything for play action. The one team who opted not to try that, was Chicago, and they lost to Miami. You remember that one? And I was like, yes, I said on the live stream, I was like, what the hell are they doing using Tariq Cohen on inside zone runs, instead of just pounding the ball with Jordan Howard? They ended up losing the game. Miami, I think, gave up like 150 to 175 yards per game on the ground the 2 games after that because everybody saw it. LaShawn McCoy, baby. This is his second game to shine in his last 3 weeks here. I love this pick because I hate the Dolphins so much. I think they're garbage.
Yeah, it's scary always to take a team like the Bills because you don't know what they're going to get in terms of offense. But the Dolphins are just not a team that deserves to be laying any points to anybody at this point. They haven't looked good at all.
Let alone more than a field goal. Like if this were like a 2.5, I'd be like, 4.5 points to me. That feels
ridiculous. Like a lot. It does. It feels, and with Allen playing, they seem to do better. I mean, Allen has the ability to run the ball a little bit also, and the total is 40. So it is telling you a very low scoring game, and it's not super hot here in South Florida either. There's not a huge home field advantage for Miami like there would be in September. So yeah, dogs have ruled once again this season, and that's going to be the way that we're going to go in that pick. So that's pick number 3.
I love that pick. That's yummy delish. All right, next one we're taking here. We're going back to the favorites. We're laying 5. Talk to me, Craig.
First time against Minnesota all year for me.
This is the first time, yes, and I was very surprised to see that you wanted to do this game.
It is, but you know what, man? Like, at some point, as a bettor, as an analyst, you gotta concede that the team that you liked isn't as good as you thought they would be. And I liked Minnesota last week against Green Bay. They ended up covering that spread. It didn't look really good early on, and then it's crazy. There's some people that feel like, not that Aaron Rodgers is tanking, but there's just like people that feel like he's not, I don't know, giving his all or something. These crazy theories that you hear that he just wants changes in Green Bay. Look, Minnesota, when it's come to the big games, they have shown up, but they've also looked very weak defensively, man. And that's the thing for me with Minnesota is that, they're so epic last year now, it's almost 2 years ago, on third down. That was really their calling card. Anytime it was like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 or more, they had the highest, closing percentage of getting that team to 4th down in the history of the NFL last year. They're just not that same team defensively this year. I can't figure out why. I thought Cousins would make a big difference in their offense. Yeah, he's been a great fantasy quarterback, but has he been a really great reality quarterback?
No, he hasn't even really been a great fantasy quarterback either. So I agree with you there. Listen, losing Dalvin Cook to this hamstring injury.
Was tough. Yeah, they didn't anticipate that.
But the injuries, it was the injuries in the secondary that really, really took him out. Xavier Rhodes has been banged up and he's been in and out, and he was questionable for this week, but he is actually going to play. They lost Sendejo. He was officially put on injured reserve, but he's been out for a while. Harrison Smith at one point was really the only legit healthy body they had floating around out there, and that's just not going to cut it in the NFL. So, listen, I think that the offense definitely got disappointing because Cousins did not. Cousins might as well be Case Keenum at this point. He really might as well be.
Minnesota's signature win, when you think about it this year, I guess last week against Green Bay was okay, but they're not very good. But remember a few weeks ago, about a month ago, when they went to Philly and won, we were like, whoa, Minnesota's back. And now look what Philly's done since. They've looked awful.
Yeah.
It didn't sit. Look, do I think Minnesota's going to win 9 or 10 games and make the playoffs? Yes. Do I think there's a chance they could make a run? They do. They have a lot of talent. They do. But we've seen them play against the Saints. They did not look good. They may have to face them again. When they're playing against one of these high-powered offensive teams, I'm not so sure. And unfortunately for them, they're coming off a season where they won 12 or 13 games. And they're playing a very tough schedule, and they're just getting beat up. So we're going to take the Patriots minus the 5 points here. Last week, what seems like what's happening with the Patriots a little bit this year is that they're scaring teams in the first half. So if you're making a first half bet, you may want to take Minnesota in this one because it seems like they're slow starters, New England, but they've been finishing off games really well. They're 8-3 again. They're probably going to run the table or come close to it. And I can't take Minnesota in this spot. I just can't do it. I'm not as positive as I was on them earlier in the year, but I still think they will rally at some point.
Okay. Listen, I agree. I like Minnesota, but do me a favor. Give me that phrase that you just said, to start off talking about Minnesota. When a team isn't as good as what you thought, just say that again for me.
That's true, but Seattle could lose every game the rest of the year.
Oh, come on. It doesn't transfer over in the opposite direction that a team that you thought was really, really bad is suddenly... Maybe I was wrong about them. Maybe they are good.
No, well, listen. On the fantasy alarm, on the wager alarm, over-unders, I picked 3 over-unders this season, right? The first one was the Bears over, which is money in the bank already. The second one was the Bills under, and I'm in big trouble there because I think, was it 5 or 4? It's close.
I think it was 4.
Yeah, so I think it was 4.5. So right now I'm good, but if the Bills win another game, I'm dead. And then the other one was Seattle. Was it 7 or 7.5? I don't know, but they already have 6 wins. So, look, here's the truth. You have to be able to adjust, and you have to be able to admit and acknowledge when you're wrong. And I'm wrong on Seattle. But that being said, they did not deserve to win last week's game against Carolina. Carolina gave it away. They have a cake matchup this week against San Francisco. 49ers are done. Their defense is hurt. Their quarterback Mullins is not good, obviously. He had that one game against the Raiders. He hasn't looked good since. So it does make sense that Seattle would lay the 10 points. My only concern with this game, and there isn't a lot, is does Seattle decide, even though it looks like San Francisco's secondary, which is last in the NFL and without their guys, that's the way that they need to attack them. I just hope that they do that. That's what I want to see. Because if Seattle's going to run the ball 45 times, we're going to have trouble covering 10 points in this game. Hopefully, they throw the ball all over San Francisco, and we're going to take Seattle for the 5th one.
They're going to do both, my friend. What you're going to see is you're going to see about 15 to 17 carries from Chris Carson. You're going to get one rushing touchdown from him. You're going to get a passing touchdown from him as well. So if you're looking for prop bets on Chris Carson, I'm all in on this kid. And then when you're sitting here looking at Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett's like almost a guaranteed touchdown every single week. Russell Wilson throws him a touchdown virtually every game. I think there's 2 games this season where Tyler Lockett hasn't scored a receiving touchdown.
Now. Yeah, the number 1 guy. Baldwin dropped a pass in the end zone. He didn't drop a pass. It was a tough throw. The week before it was a tough throw too. I don't know. It doesn't seem like Wilson's in sync with Baldwin as much anymore. But this kid Moore and Lockett have been really good for him. So and look, Wilson, for everything that's happened, you got to give him a lot of credit, man. He's still really good. He's still, when the 5 guys are on him, he's squeaking out of the pocket. It's just that last week's game, I really liked Carolina against Seattle. And, when you lay 3 points in the NFL, your team is up 27-20 with 3 minutes left, and you lose the game outright. You were on the right side at that point, but it is what it is. We lost.
Well, we are taking Seattle. We're laying the 9.5 points here. I love this pick. I'm very happy. I'm glad you've come around a little bit here, Craig.
A little bit.
I just said a little bit. I'm not listening. I'll take baby steps here. Baby steps to domination. How about that? Because listen, I love it. I think it's a great pick. And yeah, listen, I think that as far as like in a week like this, where you've got lines like laying 14,
huge line,
laying 13.5. Even the Rams, I do like the Rams laying 9.5 over to the Lions. But at some point you have to kind of pick and choose here. And for me, I think everybody's going to be like the Rams are going to be one of the top consensus picks.
Yeah,
and I think that Seattle will be laid off a little bit.
You're going to be wrong more than you're right laying 10-plus points on the road in the history of the NFL. You're just going to be wrong. The good example was Thursday night. New Orleans, just for whatever reason, didn't show up. The home team got involved. They're getting 7.5 points. You're always better off at home getting 2 touchdowns. You may lose and it may be ugly, but out of every 10 times, you're going to win 6 of those times taking those points at home. So I don't love Detroit either. They're missing probably their 2 best offensive players, but still, I can't do it.
And the Rams just got back Aqib Talib. He's going back into the secondary, which is going to tighten things up a lot more there. But oh man, yeah, interesting stuff here. There are a lot of games where I was like, ooh,
I'll tell you my 6th pick if I had to do it.
Oh, all right. Wait, let me try and guess it.
Well, here's how I know this is going to win, because we didn't use them.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then listen. You know what? I broke dead even on what I laid for Thursday night's game, because I took the Saints and I laid the points, but I took the under on the game.
Yeah, the under
nobody was on the under in that. So
you know what I think? I think Atlanta's going to win this week. I do. But we can't take them, because that means they're going to lose. Stay away from Atlanta.
Oh, dude, that team is so disappointing.
They are, but are they a point favorite at home? That's it. Atlanta's got everybody still, right?
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying that. I don't know. The problem is with Lamar Jackson, you just don't know what you're really going to get with a quarterback that's just kind of been thrown in there. But this is a pretty good spot for the Falcons, not even having to lay any points against the Ravens. I don't know. I think this is the week the Falcons win, and we won't take them. That's fine.
I'm curious as to your thoughts on the Panthers-Bucks game.
I have no idea. Panthers are so disappointing. So disappointing. It's a very talented team. I have no idea. When you get that performance, a historical performance out of the running back, and you lose like they did last week,
yeah,
I have no explanation for it. They, if I'm not mistaken, in that game, in order for the Panthers not to cover, in the first quarter they go for it on a 4th and 1, they don't get it. In the second quarter, on the 1, Cam Newton throws an interception in the end zone, and then Graham Gano misses a 50-yard field goal at the end of the game. That's why they didn't cover. That tells you that taking Seattle in that game was just like, yeah, you won, but Carolina really very much outplayed them. It would not shock me to see Carolina blow out Tampa, but again, they're one of those teams that are very hard to figure out.
Yeah, I was liking Carolina in that one. If I were picking a sixth game, that would be my sixth
Carolina.
game.
I'd have
yeah, definitely. Listen, they rung them up. What was it? It was 42-28 the last time, and the only reason that it went to 28 was because Carolina took their foot off the gas. They took out Fitzpatrick. They put in Jameis Winston. And Carolina was like, "Yeah, go ahead. You throw a touchdown to Mike Evans."
We don't. That game became a little closer. Yeah, you're right.
So, unbelievable. All right, so to sum it up for everybody, because I like to sum it up. The Super Contest. We're taking the Steelers. We're laying 3.5. All right, we're taking the Browns. We're getting 5.5. We're taking the Bills. We're getting 4.5. We are taking the Patriots, and we're laying 5. And then for our last pick here, we are taking the Seahawks, laying 9.5.
By the way, have we taken New England all year either? Have we taken them at all?
I feel like we might have taken
maybe one time, maybe once.
Yeah, like early on.
Maybe
I can go back. You could go to wageralarm.com. You could actually just look through all of our tickets, because I post all of our tickets every Tuesday now, so you can check out what we're doing. We put our money where our mouth is. How about that?
That's for sure. That's for sure. Well, I look forward to next week, and we'll on Tuesday we'll know all the bowl games. We'll at least get a head start on that, so that'll be cool.
And what we're going to try and do is we're probably going to have to do. We're just going to do a special live stream. We'll announce it slightly ahead of time, obviously, to get everybody to tune in. But Craig and I will do a special hour live stream where he and I will pick.
I can't wait for that.
All 40 games. It might go a little bit more than an hour, but we'll try and keep it entertaining.
Maybe 7 hours, but it'll be fun. That's the best. The two things that, even if you don't bet on sports, the two things that are the easiest to do is grab yourself, and they have a contest online, is grab yourself a bowl pool chart of the spreads of all the games, and then, of course, for college basketball, the NCAA tournament. But I would argue that the college bowls are even more exciting because it's the time of the year. What else are you doing in these December days in the middle of the day on a Tuesday? Like, the NCAA tournament, don't get me wrong, it's the best thing probably of all the things that there are in sports. But the bowl games are really cool because Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, like, what are you doing? Oh, let me just turn the TV. Oh, it's the Bahamas Bowl, or it's the Cheez-Its Bowl, Like, I mean, and then it's these two teams. You have no idea what's going on, but you got action on it because we picked the games for you. So I can't wait for that. That'll be fun.
I love it. Me neither. All right, that's going to do it for us for here tonight. Best of luck to you in all your Week 13 NFL, and last final week of the regular college football season. So go lay some bets, go make some money, enjoy, and Craig and I will catch you next time.